Dream Car Update, where stories of heart, courage, and fate ride alongside the engines of change. Today's story takes us far from the roads of modern steel and glass, into the dust and danger of the Wild West, and where love, fear, and destiny collided in the most unexpected way. This is the forgotten tale of the Apache woman who defied her tribe, her people, and her past, all for the man the frontier had come to fear. It was the spring of 1884, and the land between the Rio Grande and the northern plains was a borderless stretch of wild silence. There the wind carried whispers of old wars, and the scars of conquest still marked every canyon and campfire. In a small frontier outpost called Hollow Creek, the townsfolk gathered around the iron jail wagon parked beside the saloon. Inside sat a man whose name alone could silence a room. Colt Maddox, the outlaw cowboy they called the Devil's Son. He'd robbed more trains than any lawman could count, outgunned entire posses, and vanished into the desert like smoke. But now he was caught, bruised, bloody, and bound. And yet, there was something strange about the way the Apache woman looked at him that morning. Her name was Sohana. She was the daughter of Chief Talakai, a proud leader of one of the last free Apache bands that roamed north of the border. Her people called her Fire in the Morning, for her eyes burned with strength and compassion. She had come to Hollow Creek on a mission to speak with the man everyone feared. The jailer spat on the ground as she approached. "Ain't no reason a girl like you should waste words on him. He'll hang by sunrise." But Sohana said nothing. She stood tall, her long black hair braided with white feathers, her voice calm but firm. "I need to see him. Alone." The sheriff frowned. "You Apache think he's your friend? That man killed more of your people than I can count." Her gaze didn't waver. "I know who he is. Let me speak to him." After a tense pause, the sheriff gave a nod. "You've got 5 minutes." Inside the wagon, Colt Maddox sat chained, his hat gone, his face rough with stubble. But even behind the bars, he carried the same wild presence, the same quiet menace that made men step aside when he walked into a room. When he saw her, his cold blue eyes softened. "You shouldn't have come," he said quietly. "They'll think you're here to save me." She stepped closer, her hand brushing the bars. "You saved me once." He looked away. "That was a long time ago." "Not for me." 2 years earlier, Sohana's village had been attacked by bounty hunters chasing an outlaw. They had burned her people's camp and taken prisoners, and including her. But the outlaw they were chasing, Colt Maddox, had turned against his own men when he saw what they were doing. He freed her under the cover of darkness, shot the hunters dead, and vanished before dawn. Sohana never forgot the man who risked his life for her. Now, fate had turned, and she was the one with the power to save him. Outside, thunder rolled over the hills. The storm matched the mood in the air. "I came to offer you something," she said. He smirked faintly. "Freedom? I think I'm past that." "No," she whispered. "Marriage." He froze. "Marriage?" Her voice trembled, but her eyes held steady. "If I marry you under Apache law, you become part of the tribe. The white men cannot hang you. You would belong to us, and our land is beyond their reach." For the first time, the gunslinger looked uncertain. "You'd do that not for me?" Sohana's voice broke slightly. "I don't care what they call you. Murderer, thief. I saw your heart when no one else did. You saved me when no one else would. I would rather die beside you than watch you hang alone." He looked down at his blood-stained hands. "You don't understand what I've done." "I understand enough," she said softly. "We are all haunted by ghosts, but some ghosts deserve peace." Outside, the sheriff shouted that her time was up. She looked at him desperately. "Please, marry me." The words hung in the air like the last echo of a prayer. The cowboy stared at her for a long time, torn between pride and pain, between the chains on his wrists and the freedom in her eyes. Finally, he nodded. "Bring your father. Bring the fire. We'll do it your way." That night, the storm turned Hollow Creek into a sea of mud. But deep in the Apache camp across the river, a sacred fire burned. Chief Talakai stood before it, his face etched with disbelief. "You would marry this man?" he demanded. "The one who brings death wherever he goes?" Sohana knelt. "He brought me life. That is enough." The old chief turned to the elders, their faces grim. One finally said, If the spirits will it, we cannot deny it. So they agreed, but only if Colt could survive one final test. At midnight, the guards found the jail wagon empty. The bars were bent. The lock was broken. Tracks led toward the river, now one set of boots, one pair of bare feet. When the soldiers followed, they found them both standing before the Apache fire. Colt was unarmed, his wrists still scarred from chains. Chief Talakai faced him. If you marry my daughter, you take our laws as your own. You fight not for yourself, but for her people. Are you willing? Colt met his eyes. I ain't afraid of dying, Chief, but I've had enough of killing. If she'll have me, I'll protect her people till the day I stop breathing. The chief looked to his daughter. And you, Sohana, do you take this man knowing the storm he brings? She nodded. Even the storm bows to love. The ceremony was swift, simple yet eternal. Sohana and Colt stood under the cedar branches, their hands bound with a strand of red thread. An elder chanted in the Apache tongue, calling upon the ancestors to bless their union. And then, beneath the thunder, they spoke their vows, she whispered. You are my fire, he replied, and you, my peace. The flames leapt high as if the sky itself had heard them. But dawn brought chaos. The soldiers stormed the Apache camp, furious that their prisoner had escaped. Gunfire split the valley. Horses screamed. Colt grabbed Sohana's hand. Stay behind me. He fought like a man who'd already made peace with death. Every shot, every move, a shield for her. But there were too many. A bullet tore through his shoulder. Another struck him in the chest. He fell beside the fire, the sacred smoke rising around him. Sohana dropped to her knees, cradling his head. No, please, stay with me. He smiled faintly, blood on his lips. Guess the law can't hang me now. Tears streamed down her face. Don't leave me. His hand reached up, brushing her cheek. You saved me, in ways I never deserved. Then, with a final breath, his eyes closed. The soldiers left that day with nothing. The Apache vanished into the mountains once more, taking their fallen with them. They buried Colt Maddox under the great cedar tree, the same one beneath which he'd married her. His grave was marked not by stone, but by the red thread they had shared. Sohana visited that spot every spring. She would place her hand on the earth and whisper, Please, marry me again, in the next life. Years later, travelers passing through the valley spoke of strange lights by the river. Some said they saw a woman in white standing beside the fire, her hair braided with feathers, waiting for a man who never came. Others swore they heard the faint echo of a cowboy's voice, whispering through the wind, You are my fire. No one knows if ghosts walk there. Only that love, once given, never dies. Dreamcar Update voiceover. In every era, in every land, there are stories that go beyond the engines and wheels of life. Stories that remind us that love, even when born in fear, can defy the world itself. Sohana and Colt's story isn't about war or law. It's about forgiveness, courage, and the power of choosing love when hate is easier. And maybe, somewhere in the quiet of the northern plains, their spirits still ride together, free, wild, and forever bound by that one final plea.